Hi, everybody. Welcome to Conversations with the Greatest Networkers in the World, 2018. The guy that I'm going to be speaking with today, and this really is a conversation. This is not some radio interview. This is a man that I fell in love with, no kidding, the first time that I met him. And the reason for that is, I think, one thing that can bond people together is a shared vision. And in our very first meeting together, I learned that this guy had a commitment to the transformation of network marketing, for direct sales, direct marketing to become all it could possibly be on every level. And I mean not just income potential, I mean growth and development of individuals. He created a thing called happiness circle. He learned early on in his business, after he made all the possible mistakes he could make, and he is a PhD and he has a researcher's, scientist's mind, so he's all about prove it. Well, he made a lot of mistakes, and he finally came to a really fundamental truth about this business, which was build the people, and the people will build the business. And he went on to earn in excess of a couple of $1 million annually. So he did prove that his principles and his theories actually were valuable and useful in the real world. One of the things I want to talk to him about right now is that he has gone temporarily insane. He has moved from being one of the top 100 network marketers in the entire world to starting his own company. If that's not moving from the frying pan into the fire, I don't know what is. I want to find out why he's doing it. I have a theory of my own about why he's doing it, and we'll talk about that. Also, I'm not going to dig into his story. He is in the book, The Greatest Networkers in the World, 21 Ordinary People Who Became Millionaires in Network Marketing, and the true stories of how they did it. So along with this conversation, I'm going to publish his chapter for you so you can read his story. It's just wonderful. His first real encounter in network marketing was with an industry legend, Jeff Roberti. And Jeff shows up with a crocodile briefcase and a lime green suit and a Rolex with more diamonds than De Beers has in their safe. And Sven is a young medical guy, a young PhD candidate in a borrowed jacket and a leather tie. And he takes one look at this guy and he says, "Oh my." And he went on to perform, I frankly think, even better than his dreams at that meeting. Anyway, this is my friend. I admire this guy greatly for his values and his commitment to you and to the people in this business. His name is Sven Goebel. Good day, sir.
Hey, good day. Thanks for that amazing introduction. It just put me back in time. And I mean, can you envision, this is already now 27 years ago where this happened, when I met Jeff and he walked along this aisle. Never forgot that. And due to my past encounters, I recently spent quite some time with Jeff and his wonderful wife, Joanne, and we even went on holidays together. And we always laughed about this story. And whenever he was on stage with me, he asked, "Oh, Sven, share the story, share the story, share the story." He loves it as much as I do. And it was the beginning of something extraordinarily great, and I'm eternally grateful for Jeff to inspire me. And as many know, he's always an inspiring guy and a very inspiring person and a true legend. If there's a top 10 rank, a top 5, a top 3, Jeff is always amongst them.
Yeah,
no doubt about that.
Very few people have performed at such an extraordinary level. It's otherworldly.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I wish him all the blessings, all the best for his future.
So I said irreverently in my introduction that you've had a moment of insanity. You had an unbeatable income, more money than you could possibly deal with, a lifestyle that was just, hard to imagine, but you were actually living it. And you stopped to start your own company. I know you forgive me, but that's nuts. Why did you do that? What's going on?
Good question. What I figured out, and you mentioned the happiness circle. Money is a rubber ball. It comes and goes and bounces back. And what I figured out, that there's a life beyond the money, as I call it. A networker's dream is to build a huge organization, to make a great living, to turn this into an amazing lifestyle, and even earn that kind of money passively. Meaning you have 24 hours of your time, you just spin the wheel a little bit and the money comes pouring in. And I was at that point. And the more this happened to me, guess what? I started to feel worthless. I felt that I had to pursue something that was meaningful. I was missing the purpose. Making a lot of money is not a purpose. It is nice, but you need something else. Otherwise, you don't feel good. And I can remember the days where I felt offended about my own son when he came home from school and neglected me, asking him, would you like to play golf with me? He didn't want to. I felt kind of offended. And my wife finally said, you got to find something again. And then I thought, okay, what is the best thing I can actually do? And everything I'm very passionate about when it comes to profession is everything related to our amazing industry, our amazing profession, network marketing. I just love it. I just love people. I love to see them grow. I love to see companies grow. I love to see what this industry, what the impact of this industry is, how much it can change and transforms lives. I just love everything about it. And I thought, whenever I invest myself into something, it has to do with this industry. I cannot just take my money and become a real estate investor or any kind of financial investor or something like that. It's nice to have, but that's not my expertise. I wouldn't feel valued. I wouldn't feel that I could provide, other than money, any kind of value. So it had to do something with the network marketing industry. So I did a few years a project with another global giant company, learned a lot there as well. And looking back, going back and looking from a kind of a helicopter perspective on this entire industry and its companies, I saw a lot of things critical where I felt you can do it so much better. There is an obligation for us to just build better companies, to treat people better, to be more serious. And with that also, we are in a situation where our business has transformed. I mean, when we talked briefly last Friday, John, you might remember that I said, look, when we talked, you and I talked the first time about the book, this was back in 2011. We spent a lot of time talking about the upcoming transformation of this industry. Things will happen that are going to change everything, but we did not know, or maybe maximum guess, we could guess what this would be. But today, we know what it was, or actually what it is. And there's a lot of companies struggling with that kind of transformation. There's a lot of leaders struggling with this kind of transformation. And for me, it was a pool I just love to swim in. I was really keen on figure out what would it be? What would network marketing of the future look like? What does a 3.0 company has to accommodate in terms of influencer marketing, social media marketing, global anymore? It changes so much. And I've seen a lot of leaders who were doing good business for 20 plus years, but suddenly struggled. And then there were other leaders who never did network marketing before, but they just figured out communications and they went to the top ranks in record time. There was reasons for it. And I started to study these reasons. And the more I studied these reasons and all these things that happened, I figured out there is not much I can relate to. I have to do it myself. And together with a friend of mine who is as experienced as myself, together with our wife, we just sat over a glass of rosé some many months ago and decided, you know what, just let's do it ourselves. I'm around 50 years old, meanwhile 53. When I had the idea, I was in my early 50s, very early 50s. And I must honestly tell you, it was too early for me to retire. I feel there's 20, 30 years of powerful business opportunity there for me. And why not help transform what I love so much, which is the network marketing industry? And we can only lead by example by doing it ourselves. And that's why we decided out of Switzerland, based on the happiness philosophy, to create one-of-a-kind companies that determine what a 3.0 company or modern network marketing company would look like. I mean, that's big words. I understand that. And we will make a lot of mistakes as well on our way. But already we have eliminated a lot of glitches and mistakes and failures so many companies have already slided into. So we hope we stay on that great path. We hope that we'll have a great start ahead. We have interest from all over the globe. And yeah, let's see where this goes. We have huge goals. We have huge goals. And I tell you, from a personal standpoint, it is incredibly exciting because I feel I have a purpose back. You know, I wake up at 6 in the morning, starting to think about what we want to do. And I think about nothing else before I go to sleep. It's exhausting, but in such a positive way where I kind of feel alive again. You know, I know if we do it right, we are going to change so much. We can do so much great things for these people. And I tell you what, this is more fun than being a top earner in any kind of compensation plan or company, for me at least.
Sven, number one, I love your enthusiasm. It's contagious. I don't know how many nautical miles separate us from me in Virginia and you in Switzerland right now. It's probably about 5,000 miles, but I can feel the energy. Tell me a couple of the most important things that you wanted to transform with your approach, with what you're doing now. What were some things that you honed in on and said, this has got to change. We can do this so much better? Okay.
Yeah, without advertising my own company, because I understand this is generic, so I'm not going to go into the product details and other things.
Stop. Say the name of your company. Let's be grown-ups. My goodness.
Okay. Well, usually people are very sensitive about that. But still, let's go from...
I don't care. If many years ago, 30 years ago, I was invited to speak by Richard Brooke of OxyFresh. He was with OxyFresh. And I spoke, and I came out into the lobby of the convention center, and there was a young man in tears. He was crying. And I said, are you okay? What's going on? And he just whimpered and said, I'm okay. But what you said just broke my heart. And I said, what did I say? And he said, well, I thought OxyFresh was the only network marketing company in the world. And now I find that there are hundreds of them.
Yes.
I understand with the mentality. I've been working with it for 30 years. I just don't like it. And I don't care. You starting a company, what's the name of your company? Can we watch you and how you do? And if somebody wants to move from where they are now to you, where they are now didn't work for them. You do.
Exactly.
So, hey, come on.
Yeah, John, thanks for that. I was just sensitive about the subject, but I share your thoughts on that. Because it's always a matter of attraction. If somebody moves somewhere else, there is a reason. And you can't blame the company he moves to. You can only blame the company he left because there was a reason for leaving. I get that. It's a little bit the same like in a relationship, you know. Honestly, yeah. I mean, we start our company here from Switzerland. The name of the company is Enhance with a double Z at the end. Enhance, ZZ. The reason for that is a very simple one. You get all the domain names. It is kind of sticks in your brain. And the reason we choose that name is because it's about improving happiness and enhancing people's lives. So the name Enhance is great. We have separated our product name. We're going to start with a sophisticated Swiss quality, high-level quality skincare range from the company's name, which is one of the things you need to think about, because there's always a conflict. Is it a network marketing company? Is it a nutrition product? Is it a skincare product? We just did that from the very first beginning. We put a distribution network in place called Enhance Global, and we have a product line, an e-commerce, social media marketable product line on a top level with a fair pricing for the consumer at high quality, which is called Hans and Heidi. And under hansandheidi.com and under Enhance, you can find everything. But let's go back a step and not talk so much about my company, because our company is just built on the general principles I would like to share with you in that conversation. And I think one of the I did quite some trainings on the transformation of network marketing, and I call them the paradigm shifts. It's actually 7 different paradigm shifts, which people today and company owners as well need to understand, that guarantee an ongoing successful business. If you ignore these paradigm shifts, the problem is that your business might not go so well anymore. And the most important one is simplicity. You know, simplicity. And when I talk about simplicity, I always refer to 2 different kinds of simplicity. There is a simplicity on this side of complexity, and there's a simplicity on the other side of complexity. And we've all learned from our good old uplines, keep it simple. And you know what the problem is? When in the beginning of your business, simplicity is excitement. You don't know much, but your excitement level is high, your knowledge level is low. And for many networkers, this is the ever best time in their business. They just succeed, but they don't know why. Okay? And then all this classical educational stuff comes on them. They got to watch YouTube videos. They got to go into seminars. They got to listen to the uplines. They even got to listen to medical experts about their product. And guess what's happening? People are putting weight on people's shoulders so that their smile goes kind of negative, and they just drown in complexity, and suddenly they don't succeed anymore. What I'm saying is, the more they learn, the less probable they succeed. But there's a solution to it, and this is, you got to overcome this complexity and bring it back to simplicity again. You got to know what's needed and what not. Too many people are just too overwhelmed with knowledge. So training is overrated. Education is overrated. You just need to reduce that to the max. I'm not saying it's not needed. I'm just saying it is too much for people in too short period of time. So once you manage that complexity and bring it back to simplicity on the other side of complexity, that's where you gain clarity again. And what you want is, you want people be crystal clear, straightforward, not complicated. They know what they say, and they care about the people and not about how much they know. That's very important. And, you know, I learned that the hard way when I figured out what duplication really means. I felt that duplication is the biggest myth in our industry, because no matter who you ask, many people say that duplication means similarity. All people do exactly the same thing, probably what their upline figured out, and once they just do exactly the same thing, they become as successful. Honestly, that has never ever worked. If it had worked, John, you could have written the one network marketing book in the 80s. Everybody would still work after this one book, and if everybody just did exactly that, everybody would succeed life-wise. It doesn't happen, especially in today's times where the upline knows everything, the downline knows nothing. That has turned upside down. I've seen so many young, talented people being expert on social media, knowing nothing about network marketing, teaching the old horses in our business how to drive business in today's times, nowadays. I've seen that. So learning is bidirectional. What it means is, not one person knows everything. It is many people know something. So what that means is, provide education, people start to communicate in all directions. And I think what's important is to redefine duplication, not as similarity. We need to redefine it as simplicity. Only when people do simple things that at the same time are fun, guess what? Then that's exactly when people will start to resonate with it, pick what suits them from anybody, the old guy, the new one, and make it happen and succeed. So that's the biggest paradigm shift. Duplication is not doing the same thing anymore. Everybody does the same stuff. It never worked. Duplication means keep things simple, keep it fun, manage complexity, and just fly with it. If it's like with a balloon, you know, if the balloon needs to rise, you got to drop the sandbags. That's just the way you got to do it. If you want to rise, travel light, travel easy, keep things simple. That's the first paradigm shift I learned. And there's so much traps in here, because the normal reaction when people suffer, when business doesn't work for them anymore, the solution people think of is, they need more training. And then they get more stuff and more complexity and more irritations, and it gets worse and worse and worse and worse. Actually, you got to clean out the house, make it simple and fun again, and then this thing works. And actually, information is available 24/7. You don't need to chase it anymore. It will come to you. You actually kind of have to protect yourself against too much information. And this has changed. And once people, uplines and companies would understand that, life would be so much easier as a network marketer nowadays.
More paradigm shifts, please. What are some others?
Okay, next one. I put my presentation up here because I have them all. The next one, yeah. The next one, which I usually use, is the paradigm shift from information to inspiration. That's what I just started to cover. You know, when you, in the old days, we were chasing information. When we didn't drive to the weekend seminar and put our butts in seat for 48 hours, next Monday we felt we missed something. And there were all these uplines on stage teaching all these great things. I believe this has changed. I believe that education, the right amount of education, needs to be available 24/7, and it can, whether it's an academy, an online academy, a YouTube channel, whether it's a downloadable on even social media, whether there's a knowledge base that the company provides in the back office. I don't care what it is, but what I mean is there's more than enough education available 24/7. And it came to a point where people started, as I said, to protect themselves from information. Because I read a statistic a few years ago that us today, we get about 300,000 times as much information a day shuffled on us in our lives than our grandparents did. I can remember my granddad sitting in front of his old radio, hungering for the 8 o'clock news to get a little bit of an idea what's going on in the world. And that was a moment that he celebrated. And then he read the newspaper in the morning, and that was all access he had to the rest of the world. He had to believe what was said there in these 5 minutes or 15 minutes at 8 o'clock prime time, or what he read in the newspaper, and that was it. But our generation today, we have access to information 24/7, which gives us an overkill. So we have to learn to filter information and not chase information. So what it means is that when you as a networker approach a new person, guess what? The last thing this person has been waiting for is for information about you and your brand new company or product. You have to be an inspiring person, somebody that provides that person value, so that it opens up and says, okay, I really want to know what you have to offer. Because usually people are in resistance today.
How do you do that with people, Sven?
Yeah, that is in my case, or I think what I've seen from many successful people, is by showing serious interest in the situation of that person, by asking questions, serious questions, no superficial questions, so that the person really believes that you care about how the person feels, and that you might have something that adds value to their lives so that they can decide to follow your footsteps. That is what's important. And you can do that by inspiring them to get out of their comfort zone, opening up for something interesting, leading by example. People buy into you. If they like what they see in you, most probably they would like to hear your offer. If they don't, and you just come with a phrase that you learned from something which doesn't sound authentical, and it doesn't have even too much integrity, people won't follow up and they will turn you down. I think you got to become an inspirational person that shows serious interest in other people and really from the bottom of your heart want to provide value for these kind of people. Then they open up, then they are ready to listen to you, and then you might win.
Sven, one thing you said a few moments ago was that the kind of upline, downline has reversed in terms of now the downline knows more. And you illustrated that with an example of social media. I'm going to say Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and whatever others. Have you seen what I've seen? And that is that these younger people are phenomenal at attracting people. They can bring people to them. They can connect with people in ways that, forgive me, you and I never would have thought of, certainly not at their age.
Yeah.
But what I've seen, a complaint, an observation that I've heard from numerous corporate and field leaders is they have 3 months of explosive growth and then things flatten out. And then things start to drop off. And my inquiry has always been, okay, what's responsible for that? And the universal answer is there's no relationship. They're not in relationship. They know how to connect, but they didn't create that relationship. Now, your conversation now about you've got to inspire people, that's relationship. You're getting into relationship with people. Have you observed what I've just spoken of as well?
Yeah, I have, but I've also seen positive examples. I think what misses here, of course, the inspirational part, the relationship part is important, but there needs to be a platform where this can be executed. And there needs to be a system in place. I saw people acquire a lot on social media, but if they don't follow up and if they don't put people in so-called predefined buckets where they get additional information, where they can start become part of a group, where they grow into this community of like-minded people they'd like to hang around with. If that doesn't happen, any acquisition or any inspiration doesn't help much. So you're totally right. If there isn't a good working system behind that amazing connection that these young people can do, it will fall apart again. But that part can be built very well. And I've seen amazing young individuals who have built an amazing system so that people stay and stick. And these young people have amazing growth over years. I've seen more positive examples than negative examples on that one.
Do you see this new company that you're creating? What is the dimension of community that, yes, we're a company, yes, we're a business, yes, we're a business opportunity, there's uplines, there's downlines, but this is a group, this is a community. Are you offering that? Are you stressing that in your company, in your new company?
It's actually our very core. One of the other paradigm shifts I would have mentioned, which I'm going to do now, is another paradigm shift from genealogy to culture. In the old days, networkers, also top leaders, saw other companies and even cross lines in the own company as a competition. They even fought each other. They badmouthed each other. They didn't work together. They thought, if my team has a competitive advantage compared to other teams, it's good. And there were all these islands existing. And as I said before, the situation that one person knows everything because he's 20 years with the company or the industry and other people don't know much doesn't exist anymore. If today a leader wants to proceed and succeed more, he needs to open up to cross lines, to neutral industry instances, even to lead from exchange in a full way, because he might learn something that might bring him ahead, that might work better for him. So that community thing is inevitable. You have to create a community of like-minded people who believe in something that is bigger than themselves and bigger than their own paycheck. Our company, we call our company the Happiness Company. For one, we don't sell happiness, we provide happiness, we grant happiness, we sell skincare products, but we are the Happiness Company because we just have the philosophy of providing a happier life for people anchored deep in ourselves. That's actually what we work on. We put the Happiness Circle, which is in a big frame here in my office, as a foundation. It's a 15-year-old principle that we follow up on, and we've built our entire belief system, our entire company on that happiness philosophy. And we want people to buy into this. We want people to understand that this is not just about bringing people into making some money or just using some amazing product. We want people to understand that they have a tool, a vehicle in their hands, a precious vehicle that really can transform lives long-term all around the globe. And it's based on a philosophy everybody can so easily buy into. Having said that, we just as a company lead by example here. I've seen teams doing exactly the same thing by not just giving them a team name to isolate or differentiate themselves from other teams. They just have embodied a strong philosophy that is bigger than the individual, where people buy into. Would it be like being unstoppable? Or in my company already, we have the people builders that just emphasize on the fact that they are here to build people towards a better life, you know, and that they are interested in person development and moving people forward and make them grow. That's what that emphasize on. And I figured out, John, that people buy into these kind of things. They buy much more into a philosophy of a like-minded community where they can be part of, rather than percentages of a pay plan or a good product description. So yes, very much, we focus on community. We want to drive a cause. And once we are up and running, we understand that we are socially responsible. We are even going to do projects on that cause and help other areas in the world to become a little happier that actually can't help themselves. So it's a big one for us.
Sven, do you, I've been doing a lot of research recently, looking for the root cause of everything that we do in direct marketing. And this is a temporary conclusion of mine, but it really seems to me that actually every business on this planet is selling the same thing, and that's hope. Hope of a better life, hope of a richer experience of life. And I think that what I've seen in direct marketing and network marketing is that that is the universal product. We each have a different approach, but we're selling those people hope of a better life. Does that resonate with you? Do you agree with that?
I just had a discussion about exactly that phrase at the European Direct Selling Congress with a colleague of mine who's the CEO of a company from Mexico. And he said, we are actually selling hope. And so we started talking. I say, you know, in Switzerland, I mean, he's really getting people off the street and providing them a better life. In his market environment, it's about really getting food on the table. Fortunately, in Switzerland, we don't have that challenge. Maybe not even in Europe anywhere. To get food on the table. So I said, you know, you're selling hope, we are selling freedom and independence. And it's kind of the same thing. You know, yes, we sell hope, we sell people a better life. In our world, especially here in Switzerland, which is a very rich country, I think people have food, people have shelter, people have a home, people even have work, people even have a good paycheck. But they are not free. They are not independent. And I think what we sell in network marketing and what we can provide people, no matter what company is doing it, is something between hope and freedom, depending where you are in the world. But definitely what we all have in common is we sell change. We sell change to people that are unhappy and want a different solution going forward.
whether product or opportunity. It's all about that change.
Well, it is one thing, you know, at the end of the day, it's about an opportunity to make money. So putting it back to the basics, you need to have an extraordinary product or service, and you need to have a fair and well-working compensation plan that drives the right behavior to make it happen.
All right, more of your paradigm shifts, please.
Okay, so we went to genealogy and culture, which for me is a big one, and that's really a big one. That culture thing, the community business is really a big one. I just love that subject. The other one is education experience. I covered that a little bit. I believe that stage, neon light, butts in seat, taking notes has expired when it comes to daily or weekly events. Having said that, I believe that the importance of major events like boot camps, super Saturdays, up to global conventions is as important as it always was, because that's where people meet face to face. That's where they get inspired. But I believe these weekend trainings, that's over. People don't want to drive 2 or 3 hours anymore to sit for 48 hours in a hotel room to get experience, to get education shared. I believe they want an experience. I've seen people do opportunity meetings in beach lounges. I've seen them inviting people to rooftops and serving drinks while mingling about a business opportunity. And guess what happened? Next week, they brought more friends. And it's again about community. Learning and education is not so important anymore, but what's important is whether you spend 5 hours, 5 minutes, or 5 seconds with someone, you gotta make this moment. Even in the elevator, the famous elevator pitch, you gotta make an experience where people say, wow, this has kind of triggered me. This has triggered my senses. This has made me curious, and I want to know more. I want to learn more. I want to become part of that. And this is done through experience. So I believe that people start to be creative. They really have to think out of the box on how they share information. They spend amazing times together. I've seen people go to Fincas in Mallorca with their teams and do just amazing stuff. And they leave as business partners and come back as friends, and they do even better business together. So make sure that you provide an experience and you don't become an old school educator, because that's what people don't want anymore. That's another paradigm shifts where people have, and companies, by the way, have to become very creative.
So that's also part of the culture that you're building, is it not? It's that, yes, we've got a business relationship, but there's a social dimension. There's a social dimension of this where really friendship and relationship is what rules. Is that accurate?
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And are there concrete steps that you instruct your people to take to make that happen, besides by example? I mean, you and Audrey, I know how you guys operate. You are very social. I mean, you live life like it's a vacation, and that's very compelling for people. But are there things that you can instruct people on how to create this?
Well, like with everybody else, we have our daily obligations and our stress situations as well, but we necessarily don't show it in our shop window, which is social media, because that's where you show the good stuff and the fun stuff and the happy stuff. But having to raise 3 kids in various age ranges, we are still a normally crazy family as well. So we have our ups and downs like everybody else. Just wanted to correct that a little bit. But it looks good on social media, and I believe we mostly share the good stuff, not the bad and the ugly stuff, of course. But we live a great life thanks to network marketing and thanks to these 27 years of learning. This industry has provided us with an amazing lifestyle. I mean, no doubt about that. That's for sure. And now I talked so much about myself. Please repeat the question, John. the core question.
Are there guidelines or instruction that you can give to people to create this social group, this community, this family, whatever word properly describes this culture that you say is so important?
Yeah. You know, I learned that what really matters and what is lacking in most leaders' system is actually the power of their event structure. I have learned to really look at event structures. And when a leader comes to me and says, you know, I feel my business goes sideways or it doesn't work so well, I'm starting to lose people. The first thing I always ask a leader, I said, show me your event structure. And guess what most of the people say? They say, oh, what is an event structure? I said, look, an event structure is actually everything where people interact. And in nowadays, this is physical, real events, but also virtual events. And the event structure usually has 4 layers and it works bottom up. So the bottom layer is all the little daily events where people interact, whether this is a Facebook group or a Zoom call or a business opportunity meeting live or a coffee shop meeting or a home party, name it. There's about 12 to 15 different formats on what the basic event structure covers. And we all understand if that is not functional, if there's not enough of these basic meetings happening every single day in a leader's downline, everything else is kind of falling apart, you know? The next layer above that is the, I would say, monthly weekend events, whether it's a Super Saturday or a boot camp or a regional event, which is still in the leader's responsibility. You cannot fill that kind of event in a city when the basic event structure is not in place. I have seen, within a month, I have seen organizations getting close to 100,000 people a month in virtual Zoom meetings a month in order to fill monthly live meetings with up to 2,000 people, which for a company is almost a convention. That's amazing when the basic event structure works well. And then you have that layer. And the next layer is then when the company takes over and say, hey, you know what? We provide you a regional or a national convention. And the last step is, of course, a global or international convention. And this event structure needs to work bottom up. Once people understand that there is so much to do on the base, they don't need to worry to get people to all these bigger events. The worst thing I've seen happening is leaders come to us or come to a company and say, look, why don't you just organize a big event at a weekend in my area so that my business goes back up? Wrong question, because what actually should happen is that this leader, together with his upline, makes his basic event structure work so that they together can promote the weekend event, and then 300 to 500 people will show up. That's exactly how it works. And to set up a good basic event structure requires you to be creative, requires you to welcome people and not just educate, but talk about all these cultural things, inspire them, have people speak about successes, just be very creative. And that creative thing is going to go through all layers of that event structure. So we prepare people very well with their own responsibilities, on their own responsibility, to drive that basic event structure so that leaders and later the company can take over and just provide stellar, exciting, bigger events and conventions. And that's where the culture anchors in, actually.
So I take it you have the sense that even with all our dramatically increased information and connectivity, how we're on Facebook and we have WhatsApp and Telegram and messages, how we're interacting more and more and more than ever in the history of humanity, that face-to-face, live and in person hasn't diminished. Its importance has in fact increased. Are you saying that?
Yes, it has. And you know what? Let me show you. And it brought me to tears sometimes. I have seen people in one organization working together for weeks and months. People have reached highest ranks without ever having met their upline in person. But then that convention happens because maybe a long distance relationship, right? But then that convention happens and they meet in person for the first time and they fall into each other's arms and they cry tears to finally meet in person. And it's the strongest connection with actually two totally kind of strangers who see each other at the first time. It is overwhelming. It just made my heart beat so high to see that. So it shows me live how important finally the personal meeting really is. And all we do is working towards these magic moments to connect people and create friendships and business partnerships forever. I've seen it multiple times. It's amazing. It's a miracle. I've never seen that before, because you meet at a very early stage. Not anymore. You meet at a later stage, but the bonding is already there. And yes, it's important. I don't believe that any network marketing company can survive without face-to-face.
You know, I've known you for 7 years, but I've never met you. So it's going to be a whole lot of fun when we see each other face-to-face and
exactly.
give each other a hug.
Oh, absolutely, John. Can't wait. Can't wait. Exactly. Same thing. I mean, we've been speaking so many times. I feel I know you. I consider you a friend on that business level. And we've never met in person, but it's exactly the same thing. And this is so valuable. But there needs to be that physical meeting at the end of the day. And it's going to be an overwhelming feeling.
Sven, we're closing in on the time we've allocated for this conversation. I want you, please, to do a little crystal ball gazing with me from your perspective of almost 30 years in this business. What do you see in direct marketing is happening today, and where is it leading? Where are we going? What fundamentally is going on today with our profession, and where do you see it leading?
Okay. I think the most basic point, which is really, truly important, is that companies need to understand that they have to offer product or services that would sell even if there was no PV or compensation plan attached to it. I've seen too many companies whose product only sell because there's a business incentive next to it. And I think companies would do well to separate that from another and really be critical about what they offer, and would say, would that also compete in a different kind of distribution channel? And if then we put an opportunity next to it, even better. But I think that is very, very important. Also, I believe that leadership is important. I believe that leadership is even more important than it has been before, but there are still a lot of hesitant to allow leadership autonomy. There's still that feeling of having to control the leaders. There's company that restrict leadership. There's company that even believe that they can drive leadership. I think we have to serve leadership as companies. The stronger a leader, the better it is, especially in today's times, because it's the bidirectional thing. How could, let's say, if my staff would not have, it's different in my case because I have a lot of network experienced, field experienced people on my corporate side, but most companies don't have that. So how can they think they can drive business and control business and even do educational programs for the leaders out there just because they offer the product? Not possible. You need to give leaders, I think, more autonomy. That's also a very important thing. It's about people. And I think the third thing what's very important is...
Before you go to the third thing, go back to the first one. Do you have an emphasis with your new company on customer acquisition, on retail sales?
Very much so, John. We even have success ranks, not just for network marketing and downline volume, but also for customer business. So the poor lady that has never sponsored someone in the downline, but has built a huge customer base of a few thousand or 10,000 a month, she will walk the red carpet with a certain customer-based success rank, and she will get a certificate as well. Not just the ones who have these people in their downline and get the rank thanks to those people. I saw a lot of them sitting in the audience, watching the upline, and they sat there and said, oh, well, actually, I did the work. we'll have these people on stage as well. That's one thing. Yes, we have a very strong customer emphasis. We have a customer reward plan. We have a customer acquisition plan. We have a customer retention program. And we even have a VIP customer loyalty program where we will generate multidimensional customer structures because we have an affiliate program on the front end where customers will refer customers and get benefits from it without being a distributor in our company.
Okay, thank you. Your third thing?
The third thing, leadership, autonomy. I talked about leadership, right? Granting people leadership. And what was my third thing?
So the first thing was great products.
Customer oriented. Yes. Who can stand on their own. The second thing was I wanted to give leadership. And then of course, yeah, the third thing, culture. We had that before. Companies need to create an umbrella of a culture that people can buy into, which is beyond their products and services. I believe people want to be part of a community that puts a dent in the universe by doing what they are doing plus more. Whether this is a social thing, whether it's a charity thing, whether it's just an idea, that's what they actually talk about, you know. In our case, it's the happiness philosophy based on the happiness circles model that we've created 15 years ago. People just love this simple life-changing model, and they just love the fact that we started to build a company on these kind of principles. And there's other companies who have other models or other principles people can buy into and become part of that amazing community. You know, whether it's getting food on people's table, whether it's putting charity, whether it's fighting cancer, no matter what it is, just examples. But I think it needs to be something.
So would it be fair to say that you're not just creating a company, you're actually creating a movement?
Movement, yes. We are creating the happiness movement. We have a cause, we have a model, we have an amazing philosophy, and we have a very strong product line and a good compensation model attached to it. So this is going to become a movement. And honestly, from what I've seen in the past years, this just doesn't count for companies like ours. This even counts for top leaders. If they manage to create a movement following a cause inside their organization is exploding. It's going to explode. And the companies need to grant these leaders that kind of freedom to do these things, even if on first sight, it looks like a brand inside a brand. Some companies struggle with that, but I believe this is the future. We have to grant these people that kind of autonomy. And you know why it's so important? Because ownership matters. The moment you give people something they own, they are so much more responsible for it, and they are willing to fight so much harder for it than just shoveling your idea down their throat. And that's why these movements, where there's so much ownership, not just from the leaders that drive them, but from the entire inner circle and all the participants, they own this part. And then they're going to drive it big and protect it like their own baby. And I believe as a company owner, you got to grant that autonomy to people. And we are that kind of company. We call it an open source mentality that we have here for strong leaders who do it right. It can't be a counterproductive thing to your entire philosophy. If it would work against each other, there's limitations. But in that kind of frame, you keep it as open as you can. You want to give leaders a lot of room to bounce back and forth and do their own thing, because that's actually what we believe creates the ultimate success.
Wow. We're at our time, and I could keep asking you questions for another few hours, that's for sure. So number one, thank you. I admire you. I admire what you're doing. And a request is, if you'd be willing at some point, not too far in the future, to do round 2 with me of this conversation.
Sure. Anytime, John. Always ready.
All right, dear man. Thank you. My love to your wife. And God bless. Great stuff. I'm excited to see how your company keeps growing and growing and growing. When do you come out? When do you begin?
We're gonna pre-launch September 1st. And but you know, as a company, this means you're actually ready. We'll be ready at September 1st. We are starting to take pre-registrations August 1st. So in the next 4 to 8 weeks, things are happening, get serious. So we are all up and flying and really working hard for the last inches. And it's going to be good. We will be on time. We'll have an extraordinary service level. I think we'll get a good launch done. And also from my side, thanks very much for inviting me to that call, John. It's an honor for me. I admire you as much, if not more. Thanks for everything you do for this amazing industry. And let's keep speaking together. I always learn a lot as well. Thanks for your amazing questions.
I promise. Thank you, Sven Goebel. Have a great, great day.
You too. Thank you. Bye-bye.